Hi everyone, it's Kathy again. The last video I did of this page here, I had a few people ask if I could paint these little birds close up. So that's what I'm going to do for you today. I have this painting book and I'm going to use this little bird and the flower here on a page, and what I'd like to do is tell you the different paints that I'm going to use first. In the journal books, it's best to use a craft paint. The artist quality paints like Liquitex or Golden, they're very expensive, and if you're just going to be doing work in your journal, it's best to use the craft paint, I find. There are some colors you may want to use that you can't find in a craft paint, but the craft paint I find is much better in a journal because it doesn't stick. Once you're done, the pages, when you closed your book, they don't stick. Whereas your artist grade paints, because they're a plastic, basically, they do make your pages stick. And so I find a lot of people have to either wax their page or put some kind of powder on it. So what I'm going to do is, I've got several varieties here, ceramic coat, Americana, let's see, what other ones? Folk art, whatever you can find. There's hundreds and hundreds of colors. And what I'm going to use today are neutral gray, raw umber, straw, cool white, and I probably use the Titan Buff just because I don't have that in a craft paint. And maybe some titanium white and golden. Oh, and some black. I don't have black in the craft paint, so I'm using Liquitex Basics. I'll also be using 3 or 4 different types of brushes. Because it's a fairly small bird, you don't need a very big brush. So I like to use, this is a number 8 flat brush. It's a shader, what they call a shader. You can see that. And then round brushes, fairly small. This is a number 1. And this neat little brush here is called a ridge brush. As you can see, it's got, looks like somebody cut pieces of your brush out. It's great. It makes nice fur or feathers, and it's a 1/4 inch. You can get them in many different sizes. I'll also be using near the end, I like to use the Sakura pens. They come in different sizes, so I'll be using, this is a number 06, and I'll be using a 03, and I also like to use the Uniball, the white Uniball, Signo. These are great. They'll write on anything. Just make sure that your paint is dry. That's the only thing. And it's very bright, bright white. Okay, so let's get started. So what I've done here, I've taken a pattern from the Little Footprints painting books, by Carolyn Forsyth. It's volume 3. And some of the birds that I do, or flowers sometimes, I do get them out of these books if I don't want to spend the time drawing. It's a great resource to have. If you can find the books, get them. They're great. I love them. It's quick. You can put them in your scanner or copy them. Let's zoom in. See how close I can get for you. So, to start with, we have to put a base coat on the bird. We're going to start off with the head, and the base coat usually in this circumstance, it's going to be kind of a medium gray, and then we can shade and highlight with black and a lighter gray. So you want your medium gray to be the base coat. Okay, so we're going to use this gray, and it has arrows, but that's for the finished feather strokes, because the feathers go in a certain direction, and this is just to let you know how to paint them. Well, you can paint right over that because we don't need that right now. And if you want to, you can always put those back in over top of the paint. Just so that this will dry, we're going to continue and go on to the chest area. And the chest area is also kind of, in the center here, is also kind of a gray tinge, but a lighter gray than what we used here. And around the outside of the middle is kind of a taupey, peachy color, is what they're showing in the book. So, we're going to add a little bit of white to that gray to lighten it up. We want it fairly light because it's not really that dark. It's just a suggestion of gray. So that's what I've done here, is this gray. So I mixed this one and this. This and this I mixed to get this. Okay, that's fairly dry. Now, put some black on my palette. And that's when we start to use this. It's a very quick and easy bird. Okay, raw umber, that's what we're going to use. So if you remember, the arrows were going out like this. So that's how we're going to do some painting. There's a little spot right in the center here that's lighter. So we don't need to put a whole lot there. So as you can see, just little marks. Trying to keep my hand out of the camera for you. Now I'm going to use the white with a little bit of that gray. So I'm making another grayish color, not exactly white, and we'll do the chest. And the feathers go down. And as you go around the sides, they start to turn to the outer side. And you can flick some up into the brown. It's okay. Okay, and then I'll lighten it up again. And this, when you start doing the real light sections, this is when you got to make sure you go in the right direction that the feathers are supposed to. Because this is the stroke that you will notice the most. And you notice that I'm leaving some of the area around here a little more gray because that would be the shadow cast. So most of the light areas would be on the top part here. And in the bottom here where his legs are, the feathers kind of turn into each other. You can get that with the detailing at the end too. Give it a little bit. There's kind of a little shadow in the center here. Oh boy. See, I'm gonna have to do a bunch of editing. I'm getting my hand in it. It's so hard to do this. Okay. Let's get some more white. And there's just tiny bits. I don't want it too I'm just using the one little rake on here. A few under here. Still want some more white. Not white enough yet. Sometimes I think it's best if it's almost on the dry side. It leaves it a little more feathery looking. Okay. And then I want to get just a bit of black on my brush. And just highlight just a few. And it's almost on the dry side that I'm using it now. Oh geez. Trying to keep my hand out so you can see. Okay. Just a bit. Okay, now I'm going to take my round brush and I'm going to do the eye. The eye's black. Eyes are always black. We'll paint. Okay. And his little feet are gray, a dark medium gray, I guess. So we'll just paint those in. And let them dry. And I want to put his little beak in, and his beak is going to be, I'm going to use straw. There. And I'm using a round brush again, but this one's a little bit finer. It's a number, it's a snap round. I don't even have, oh, it's a number 1. And we'll just outline. Like so. Okay, and then we'll just take a little bit of the white and we'll just highlight the little toes down the center. There. And when that's dry, we can put little stripes on the toes and the leg. Okay, that's pretty dry. Let's see. I really want to make this brighter white here. This cool white just isn't doing it. So I'm going to bring out my titanium white by Golden. I'll have to let that dry because you can't put or use any marker or pen on wet paint. So make sure it's really good and dry. So actually I'm going to dry my dryer. Okay. I'm going to get out my pencils or pens. And what I do is sure it works. Is I just flick. It seems to have a really bright white on it. So I kind of flick them with a little bit of a curve. I don't know if you can see that. See if I can zoom in again. There. So it's kind of like crazy feathers that are sticking out. And remember the direction of your feathers. Oh, and then there's always a little, the eyelid. So what I like to do is put a white circle and then put my finger on it so it dulls it a bit. It just gives the eye a little bit more of a realistic look, and then a little mark for the highlight. Then I like to use a real fine liner black pen. There we go. Well, it's a Sakura. It's a number 3. And I just like doing some hairy little funny looking oddball on the edges of the And then the little mouth also. You won't want a real thick line, so that's why I like using these instead. You can use a little bit more black. This is there. And the outer edge. So, like I said, lots and lots of layers. But it gives it depth that way. Oh yeah, we can, using that small one, we can do little curves for his legs. I want to shade this beak in, so there's a little bit of a shadow in here. I'm using brown. So that's the pen. There's a highlight on top of the beak. And that's the little bird. She's done. Let's see. So as you can see, they're really easy to do. Not much to them. So I'm going to finish off the flower. So if you get a chance and you don't want to draw the bird yourself, pick up some of these books. They're great. And there are other ways of drawing birds from photographs and magazines or whatever, and I'll do another video on that. Till next time, have a happy new year, and I hope 2014 is wonderful for you, and stay tuned for the next video. Bye!